So I am definitely grabbing my LaCroix so I can actually drink that before I start this video. But I'm definitely in the same outfit again because I decided to go ahead and film multiple videos while I have a babysitter so that I can just be putting these up sporadically. So I am filming on the same day in the same outfit. What are you gonna do? So I wanted to go ahead and film the next video that I had talked about, which was what happens at your home study and what it's like during your home study. So my home study started the week after I finished my training. Yes. And so what it starts with is you fill out this whole questionnaire, and your questionnaire is basically, what are you open to? Are you open to someone who has had any kind of sexual abuse? Are you open to someone who has physical disabilities, mental disabilities, whatever it may be? You fill this all out. You fill out what you are open to as a foster parent. Do you want 10 and under, 5 and under, newborns only? Are you an older couple and so you can't take care of a 2-year-old, but you can take care of a newborn or a teenager? You fill out what you are comfortable with, and then you also fill out some demographics about your family. Have you ever had a history of mental illness? Has anyone in your family ever had a history of mental illness? What in your background could we use? What in your background could we use to support a child who might have gone through the same thing? For me, for example, I struggled with anxiety for a really long time, and in college, I did a lot of therapy and things just trying to get over that. And so if there's a child who struggles with anxiety, we might be a good fit because I have been there and have gone through that. Or on the opposite side of the spectrum, if you feel like someone with anxiety, if you already have anxiety, would just make it worse, you can put that down, that I'm not comfortable with this because I have it as well, and I think it would just make things worse. So you kind of get to decide that. So you fill out that paperwork. And so for the first home study, for me, again, let me reiterate from the last video, I went through a Okay, and we're back. So again, I want to reiterate that I went through a private placement, Christian-based facility here in Arkansas. So I went through Connected Care, which is through the Arkansas Baptist Association, and I was trained by the same people who are now my caseworker. So that's a little backstory for you. So that did make, it's not that bad, it's not that scary. So you fill out the paperwork, and then you clean up your house, you make sure it looks nice, you get the foster room ready, and you go through a list. They gave us a list of things like fire extinguisher, covers on all the plugs, locking up medicine in a cabinet that you could like seal up and close up, putting knives up and away, just little things here and there that if you have any guns in your house, I don't have any guns in my house, but my parents do. So when they do their home study for being foster support, you have to store guns away from ammo, and guns have to be locked up in one case, ammo has to be locked up somewhere else. So those are 2 things that need to be done. Those are a couple things that need to be done. So on the first home study, they just kind of come in, they go through that paperwork with you. They do a walkthrough of the house and tell you things you might need. Like I didn't have up emergency escape plans and emergency contacts, which let me run grab those and I'll show you how simple that actually is. So I had to get these done. So my caseworker came in and said that these needed to be done before I could officially be open, and that there are a couple of things that they put on the list that need to be done before the next home study. So I didn't have all of my plugs covered. That needed to be done before the next home study. I didn't have these emergency plans done, so that needed to be done before the second home study. So let me just flip these around and show you how simple that is. So like this is my tornado plan. I have a regular route coming from every single room in the house, and then an alternate route coming from the child's room only. So this is my tornado plan, and you can see number 1 is blue and number 2, the alternate, is green. So for a tornado, ultimately what I would like is for them to come meet me in my bathroom, just because it is the safest spot for them to go. But if necessary, think I have this upside down. No. If necessary, they can meet me in the little hallway area right in here that's in the center of the house and doesn't have any windows. So those are my tornado plans. And then for fire, I have this. So again, I have a main route from all of the rooms and then an alternate route coming just from their room. So for example, the main way to go, if we can, is to come out the front door and meet in the front lawn. If necessary, they can go out the back door and meet in the backyard. So those are fire and tornado. And again, I did fire, red and orange, tornado, green and blue. And that is something you have to go over within the first like 24 hours of a placement arriving. And then I have an emergency contact list, which I'm gonna have to kind of do a little funky so you don't see phone numbers. So again, my medical emergency, I've got it labeled. So I have my dad, my mom, and my aunt who only lives like 2 minutes from my house. So she's on there just in case. And then for fire, let me do this again. It's really hard to do to not show you guys. And then other emergency as well, I have 911 at the top, the police department here in town, then my parents and my aunt who lives about 2 minutes away. So all 3 of those just stay on the fridge and we go over those in the first 24 hours. So that was something that was part of my home study that I had to get done before the second home study. So the first one is just really a chit chat. It's getting to know you, see your house, measure your foster room, because you have to have 50 square feet per child. So my original foster room was where my office is, and it was set up for just 1 child. And I prayed about it and thought about it and said, you know, I think I could handle 2 under the right circumstances. So I moved the foster room because that room was 95 square feet and it had to be 100, which I wouldn't have put 2 kids in that room anyway. It was tiny. So I moved them into the back bedroom, which allowed me to have enough square footage for 2 children. So you have to have 50 per child, and you have to make sure that if you have bio children or other foster children in the home, that if they're going to share a room, if they are different genders, they have to be under 5 years old. If they're 5 years old and over, different genders cannot share a room. And if it is the same gender, they cannot be more than 5 years apart sharing a room. So those are just 2 things that they check for and kind of look at. And then we just sat down, chatted about being a foster parent and kind of what my paperwork said. And then she took that paperwork home and looked at it for the next couple of weeks. 2 weeks later, she comes back to check on making sure I had the plugs, making sure I had the emergency plans and my fire extinguisher and all those physical things. And then we sat down and really dug into what I put on that form. Now that form is about 20 pages long of just all sorts of things. Like, for example, my uncle who passed about 5 years ago had an issue with prescription drugs, and he had had that issue his entire life. My dad is a pastor and had been witnessing to him and trying to help him, and in the last 5 years of his life, he had turned it around and became a totally different person, became involved in church, got baptized, got saved, all these things. And so I was able to say, hey, you know, like if there's parents with drug abuse, I have this experience where he had turned his life around, and I would be happy to share that with a child that, hey, mom or dad might be going through this right now, but they can turn their life around and have this. So that was something. Are you open to some of the more severe cases? Are you open to be a trauma home? Are you open to do the extra training to be a trauma home? Can you take wheelchair bound or anything mental disabilities? I knew for me, I can't do wheelchair bound because my house is just not set up to be wheelchair accessible. I have very tiny bathrooms. My front porch has a set of 4 steps and no way to put a ramp, and you couldn't even fit a wheelchair on the tiny porch that I have. There's lots of little ledges and things that just would not be wheelchair accessible in my house. So I knew that would not be something I could do. I knew I couldn't do super advanced medical things. Like at one point I got a call for a child who had a feeding tube and had to go to Little Rock, which is about an hour and 15 from my house. She had to go there often, and I knew I couldn't do that because I teach 30 minutes the opposite direction, and I just couldn't be taking off that much to do all those trips and to do the feeding tube and all of that. I just didn't have the capabilities as a single foster mom to do that. But I did say that I'm open to any child with autism or ADHD. I personally have ADHD, so I know that how it manifests and stuff. Now I have grown, I don't really want to say grown out of it because I do still have my ADHD tendencies, but I've learned how to control it in my adult years. And so I knew I could be helpful. And I've had 3 children since then, 4 who have had ADHD, and I've been able to help them. I also said I was open to a child with autism because I work with an autism class at my school, doing music class for them, and I knew how to work with them, so I knew that I could be able to do that with a child in my home. So those are just some little questions here and there about what you're comfortable with. And so we went over that the first night, and the second night when she comes back and checks all those things and goes over that paperwork again, she's really wanting details. Like, I had to go deep into what it was like with my anxiety and going to see the therapist at the school and meeting with her. And I had to contact that former therapist and get a report from her saying, hey, Bethany did come to see me, but I feel like she has finished going through this, and I feel like she is good and stable and ready to be a foster parent. And so had to get that paperwork because they want to make sure that you completed your therapy and that you were on the right track. And so they check into that and go over her report with me. They went over everything on my list and kind of just dove a little deeper into what I put on that paper, and then did a final walkthrough of the house and signed off on my home study. So that is how the home study process happens. And that's basically what happened for me. And I was open in January after going through both of those home studies and was ready to take placements. So I hope that that is helpful. I've been talking almost 15 minutes, and I am definitely very dry mouth and want to drink my LaCroix. Let me just tell you, I've been looking for weeks for the limoncello one because for some reason in Searcy, Arkansas, people are obsessed with the limoncello one and you can never find it. And one Saturday I went and there was 1 box left. And I reached down and I grabbed it, and there was a stalker there and he was stocking stuff. And so I was like, oh, maybe they stock on Saturdays. Maybe he's about to put more out and I can go ahead and, grab 2 or 3 since they sell out so quickly. And I asked him, and he said they have already been pulled off the shelf and delivered to people. Like, they sold out. He put them on the shelves about 3 hours before I was there, and they were already gone. Like, I don't know what it is about Searcy, Arkansas that is obsessed with the limoncello ones, but I got my 1 box and I'm a little obsessed with them as well. So I can't be that judgmental, but also, like, where am I supposed to do? Like, what am I supposed to do? You can't find them anywhere in Central Arkansas, or at least, Newport where I work, or, Bald Knob at the local grocery store here, or Walmart in Searcy. You just can't find the limoncello ones because everybody is just as obsessed as I am. So yeah, I'm going to enjoy that. Try to get rid of this dry mouth and maybe film 1 more video while I have a babysitter. So I hope that learning about what the home study process looks like can be helpful to you. And I will catch up with you in the next video. Bye.